All right, Gunners, another Champions League night, another Arsenal win. Arsenal 2, Olympiakos 0. It wasn't always smooth sailing, guys. But it's 3 points. It's 3 points. Another clean sheet and a rotation job done. Guys, let's get into our three ups and three downs. Okay, first up for me, guys. First up for me, Odegaard return and Eze raising the level. Let's just start with the captain. Captain fantastic. I think what Eze has done coming into the squad is to raise the level. Eze has raised the level. It means that Odegaard has to produce week in, week out, or guess what? Eze can come into that slot, into that number 10, and he can play, and there will be no drop off. And I think this is something that, Arsenal fans have been crying out for, because it is very hard. It's very hard to go a whole season and be consistent. And when you're not in the best form in your life, you don't want all the focus to be on you, which has kind of been the case with Odegaard. He's our captain. He's the one everyone looks forward to. So when the creativity is not happening, naturally you look at Odegaard and say, what is Odegaard doing? And so for me, other guy was like, hold on, I see what Eze is doing, but hey, hold my beer, right? I can definitely do that. And he was immense. I think everything good that we saw in that first half, Odegaard was behind it. He was creating things. He was basically running that whole midfield. It's just a shame that a lot of his good work wasn't rewarded with lots of goals. But there were so many times you watch in that first half and you were like, yeah, this is the Odegaard that I remember. This is the Odegaard that, was the optimism that we had that first time when we are trying to go for the league title. Um, that gorgeous assist for Saka, absolutely incredible for that second goal. And that's leadership through performance. And all the people that, Tony Adams as well saying, the one Declan Rice is the captain. While I see that, but honestly, right, with that kind of performance, for me, that is speaking true performance rather than just talking. And I'd rather have that, for my captain than anything else. Okay, going into up two, the second up for me is the clean sheet and Raya's performance. Another clean sheet, guys, and I know everyone's gonna be wanting me to apologize to Raya, because I haven't been the biggest of his fan, and yeah, come a little bit closer so I can do that. Well, today's not that day. One day I will, but today is not that day. But I have to give Raya his due. This is the game for a very long time that I would say, hold on, I don't think we win that game without Raya. I think those saves that he made, especially when things started getting a little bit stretched in that second half, I thought Raya played incredibly well, kept the score line for us so that we can eventually seal it with the second goal. And he was a difference. He was a difference. When we were nervy, he kept his calm, and allowed this game to be a comfortable one, I have to say. And yeah, I will give him credit. I will give him credit. I'm one of his biggest critic, and maybe because I want so much more from our goalkeeper. I want a goalkeeper that allows us to win games, keeps us in games until we eventually find the answer. And he did that. I think this game was the perfect example of when your keeper keeps you in it, not just for a couple of minutes, but up until your offense is able to come back and carry the load. So I love that. So kudos to Raya, as well. And the last up for me, guys, rotation. Rotation. Feels like a song, right? It feels like we could be singing a song about that. But we finally have rotation. We finally have rotation that doesn't weaken the squad. We finally have rotation that it means that there is no drop off in quality. I really, really love that. And hey, I can't talk about rotation without talking about Martinelli. I see you guys, all of you. who were just, complaining and moaning and talking about Martinelli, trying to literally drive him away from the club. I see all of you. And I've always been Martinelli's defender. I've always said he's a big game player. He has scored goals against big teams. I don't know a lot of players who can say that. He scored goals against Real Madrid. Yes, you got to add that in there. Scored goals against Manchester City, against Liverpool. Um, when we need him to score goals, against the big sides, he does. And listen, right, Martinelli is never going to be Henry, right? He's never going to be, your Haaland. But for me, he's an above average player. And I think that a squad like Arsenal, we need players like that. I mean, you think about, Manchester City, when they used to have Aguero, they had Dzeko, they had, people that would, perform, come in and stick the ball in the back of the net. I dare say, even look at Liverpool last season, right? And everyone would talk about Salah and an incredible season that he had. But Diaz, Diaz was coming up with goals. He was scoring goals in the odd games. He was scoring goals, and then Jota got rested, so he was coming up scoring goals as well. And for me, I think that Martinelli can be that for us this season. I think Martinelli and Trossard could be those, could come into those games when we need a little bit of a change up. They sat on the bench, worked out the defenses a little bit, and can come in and make an impact. And hey, his goals to games ratios is absolutely up there. It's absolutely up there. So for me, Martinelli, big factor, big credit to him as well. Um, he worked hard. Oh, and I don't want to forget this, Gyökeres. Listen, he worked hard, and people are gonna say he didn't score, but you've had to have watched the game. You've got to watch the game, and watching that game, that first goal can't happen without Gyökeres. The strength, the muscling, and take the shot away that eventually Martinelli put in the back of the net. Very unlucky not to get to the score sheet, but he deserves a mention, and I want that from my striker, 100%, 100%. Okay, guys, let's look at the three downs. Three downs. Um, and the first one, I think this one goes without saying, right? We let Olympiakos back into the game. We did. We're flying high early on, should have been out of sight in 30 minutes, should have been out of sight. But we let Olympiacos get back into the game. We did. Against tougher oppositions, that's dangerous. We're this is a Champions League. You got the likes of PSG, you got the likes of Real Madrid. I'm not saying that we're afraid of any of those teams, but what I'm saying is that those teams have got those moments that they can punish you. They can punish you. And we saw that last season. We were peppering PSG, and what did they do? They just went over on the other side and they scored. And that's the thing that I don't want us to be our story this season, starting and not taking advantage of our opportunities because we cannot, continue like that. And look, we're talking about Liverpool in the Premier League where they were scoring late goals. It's a little bit like the same, right? You can't sustain, being dominant and not taking advantage because it's going to bite you in the bum. And it's done that to Liverpool. We need to be mindful that it doesn't happen to us. That for me is a down. We started off so well, but we let Olympiacos back in the game. We shouldn't do that. So not good. We need to improve. Okay, the second one is a little bit like the first one. We miss chances, right? Especially not in that first half. First couple of minutes in the goal, Martinelli should have scored. Should have scored. Maybe that was Gyökeres in that position. He should have scored. So we missed a lot of chances to clean up the game. And like I say, Champions League, the margins are small. Margins are small. So you can't keep doing that. So I guess enough said about that. Last down for me was another injury scare. It just seems like every single game that we go into, we have a player limp off, and we can't do that. There's so many games to be played in the season. We're talking about 50, 60 games. If we have players limping off every single game, that's not good for us, right? I know a squad depth is deep. I know that we've got players that can come in, and Mosquera came in and he did the business. But I just want to have a game where I don't have nervousness because a key player is walking off a little bit gingerly, right? We've seen it with Saka, seen it with Saliba, now Gabriel. I just want a clean bill of health for our player. So it's a little bit down for me, but fingers crossed, this is not too serious, and we see Gabriel in the very next game, maybe West Ham. And speaking about that, guys, I do want to point you out to our preview that will be coming out of West Ham against Arsenal at the Emirates. So look out for that as well. That will be dropping right here on the pavilion. And guys, please don't forget, like and subscribe, and also keep sharing this with as many people as possible, right? I cannot do this thing without you guys. And I do appreciate all of you that keep coming back to watch the content. If you put in comments there, things that you might like, I'm trying a couple of things with the channel, especially with the Champions League previews, adding a little bit of more graphics, a little bit more of a bit of a light soundtrack at the back of it. Let me know if you like that, and we can continue to do that. Maybe we can do that for the Premier League. But I just want to test that out. So I do appreciate, any feedback that you can share in the channel as well. And that's it, guys. For this 3 ups and 3 down, good performance in Europe in terms of the result. Got the 3 points, iffy performance all over, clean sheets. I would say rotation, definitely. But I'll see you guys in the next one.